35,000 calories.
Yeah.
We do these calorie challenges on YouTube, yeah, and they usually max out around 10,000 for one person.
Yeah.
So how?
Yeah.
What is the and if I want to eat more than usual on a day, then I'll go and I'll lift heavy or I'll do this. But I can't imagine you did that because you'd have to spend the entire time eating.
Yeah.
So just run me through. How did you get to 35,000 calories?
Yeah. You just said, so there's a few things there. One thing that I found was so interesting. At first, because I was so dehydrated, so there was an idea that basically we wanted to replicate the sort of famine and feast of a tiger shark. So a tiger shark can migrate thousands of miles across an ocean and they don't need food. So the white sharks, for instance, can go from Australia all the way to New Zealand with no food. They just store up fat in their liver and they just cruise. So first of all, we wanted to do that. So I tried to lose as much weight as possible. So they locked me in a heat chamber for 12 hours. Just couldn't drink and I'm just like sweating. So I'm depleted. So when then they said, right, that's the famine. Now you need to feast. First of all, it was just water. I was so dehydrated. And that was what was really interesting, that I thought I'd be going, right, I want takeaway, I want burgers, I want pizza. But it was like, just give me a glass of water. That's all I want. Primitive. Like that's my primitive need right now. But as soon as that was catered for, all of a sudden I was like, okay, like fast cut jelly babies. So it was just like packets of jelly babies, just like saw them off. And then what was interesting, I started to get thirsty, but then I was thirsty and hungry. So it was just like, 4 liters of custard was good because it was kind of like liquidy, but there was calories in it. Ice cream, just started seeing off just tubs of ice cream. Ben & Jerry's just gone, just like having them like Tic Tac.
So where's that sickly feeling, Because even after 3 scoops of ice cream, I go, okay.
Same.
And there's so much sugar as well. Like it must have spiked.
Yeah, but I love what you just said there though as well though, which was this idea of like, so often people think of just like sitting there and just like watching like a movie and like just tubs of ice cream pizza, but I was so depleted. So what was crazy on that, especially after like the first 4 hours, is I was so like, my face was gaunt because all the water had been drawn out.
Yeah, you look like shit.
Oh, awful, horrendous. And I could actually, as I'm sitting there and eating pizza, and also as well something that was salty, like with sodium, so it's forcing water into the cells. You could see my muscles just filling up. It was just, you could actually visibly, it was so weird. And you could see my stomach and I was so vascular, I was so veiny, and everything, it just had like an actual physiological response, what I was eating. And then I'm just sweating and it's just, my body's going, what are you doing? And then it got really weird because I think you then want like hyper palatable foods, because you look at the anthropology of us humans, we're hunters gatherers. So we're wired to have something. And if it's high in sugar or high in fat, your brain goes, we don't know when we're going to eat again. So just smash a load of that. You're going to need those calories. Whereas now, obviously, we live in a society where you can go to the fridge, you can order something on takeaway. So what's amazing is almost knowing that those hyper palatable foods, once you start, and this is where a lot of people's diets go wrong, but in my case, it went right because I was just trying to eat as much as possible. It's like once you have a pizza, the only thing after a pizza is something more hyper palatable. So it's a donut. And then the only way once you've done something with a donut is to take that donut and just dip it in Nutella.
Yeah.
But then once you've done that, where do you go from that? Well,
keep going, man.
You deep fry it, don't you?
Oh, we're almost there, bro. We're almost there.
And then where do you go from that? Or you deep fry it and you put it in custard. And then it's double cream. And it's got to go like that. And then I think it's interesting what you said, to do those 35,000 calories. It was so hard in 24 hours, but my stomach, I was so full that I basically went to bed at night and I just lay there. You know those share and tear cinnamon loaves? So I had 5, they're meant for a family. So I had 5 of those there, but that was too dry. So I basically had 5 share and tear cinnamon loaves, like sitting there, and I've got them outside of me. And then over here I had 7 liters of custard. So what I'd do is I'd just wake up. I'd wake up every hour. I was in and out of consciousness. So I'd just wake up and I'd just go bang and then just chug a liter of custard and then just go straight back to sleep with it all around my face. So yeah, to make it up in the end, I was just sacrifice sleep for eating. Yeah.
Oh my
that's
eating during the sleep thing is something I do. That's why I'm not allowed M&Ms on the bedside table anymore. Because I was going
anymore.
When
you allowed it in the bed?
You know that when you're watching a movie, you'll always have maybe a pack of wine gums, some M&Ms, whatever. We kept doing it, and I'd wake up and they were all gone because I'd eaten them all.
But who stopped you? Who's imposed?
Mrs. She was like, keep them on my side of the bed now. No, but
She's back.
no.
She's the one.
Nah, it got bad. It got bad because I was reaching over. 4 a.m. I reach over. Like,
Nah, you're not a real person, man. You're just not a
I
real
reach
bloke.
over, just grab a couple of wangles.
But she's now banned them.
Yeah, they're bad now. We don't take food to bed. Anything like it'll be, mate. It'll be something that can go off, right? McDonald's milkshake. Yeah, I'll drink it at 6 a.m. and it was from like 8 p.m.
That's
Because
disgusting.
I'd be like, I'm so thirsty, and I'll drink this McDonald's milkshake, and it would hit like crack. Wow,
That's
honestly, you guys got to try that milkshake. Seriously.
Oh no,
Funny.
no. But that would be interesting on your next eating challenge. But to deplete yourself.
So yeah, this is what I was gonna say because I usually get to about 5K and I'm really topped out. Like I'm there, like I'm done. I'm just done.
Yep.
The bit that I'm interested in, and you mentioned the cinnamon, the custard, and all the other stuff. Surely there's only so much sugar your body can take on because all of this sounds like it has high sugar content. And then do you not get put? And I don't know the body like you do, but do you not get put into some level of shock where you've got so much sugar, your body's there like,
oh, for sure. Like in that particular experiment, like I would never repeat that ever again. Like that, you're 100% right. That was above and beyond. My insulin was just going, what are you doing? My entire body was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked that because it's been really interesting that certainly on my social media, so often I'll be posting, pictures of me just smashing donuts and everything else. And I think it's always worth noting, I never have donuts and Mars bars and things like that sitting on a sofa. I'm always having that.
hear that, Chip?
or in bed.
That's a completely different game.
But I'll always have them. And I almost it's a game. I call them 1 kilometer tokens. So when I'm swimming, I'll be doing a 20-kilometer swim. So I'll turn up at Loughborough University and it's so interesting. You'll always have like the Olympians, like I said, Adam Peaty, Hector Pardue, who's just crushed it, and Tobias at the 10K at the Olympics. And they're amazing. They're, energels and they're poetic and what. I'm just chugging custard and donuts. And it's interesting that you're using it, you're assimilating it, you're processing it. So I think sometimes we humans have a bit of a turbulent relationship with sugar and things like that. It's like, oh, but Ross, how are you allowed that? I'm like, you'll never really catch me having donuts sitting on the sofa. It's just I'm assimilating and using that sugar, those simple carbs. And I think it gets really interesting with that as well, because sometimes, don't get me wrong, I love Energels because they've just got an amazing sort of osmolality, digestive properties. They're easily digested, waxy maize starch, maltodextrin, they're easily absorbed. But sometimes it gets really interesting that you can have something that's healthy or sports performance, but then a donut is unhealthy and it's bad for you. But it's sugar. It's simple sugar. So once you get your head around that, it's just the same essentially. Your body doesn't know the difference going, I'm having a healthy sports performance Energel,
Right.
or over here I'm having a donut. And I think that's what gets really interesting because no food exists in a vacuum. You have to consider it in your lifestyle. So, M&Ms in the middle of the night, like that's probably the worst. Because not only are you sitting on it, you're actually going to sleep. But it gets really interesting on that if you're like, is it bad to have donuts and M&Ms at my bedside table? And I go, it depends. And you go, what could it possibly depend on? That is clearly bad. And I go,
Could be good.
well, this is my point. I'm like, hang on. So this is probably a case for your missus that you can present to her.
Just show her this clip, Chip. Probably note this one down. You're going to be buzzing here.
That you go like, if you are having donuts and you're waking up the next morning and you're playing on computer games and you're chilling and stuff like that, yes, that is bad. But as soon, if you're going for a 10K run or running a half marathon or marathon, does that cheat meal then become carb loading? You see how what you're doing the day after will completely flip the
I've been
context.
saying the same thing, man.
But you have to
Saying
do.
the same
You have to do the half marathon. You have to do.
That's how I did my half marathon. Just a couple M&Ms by the bedside table.
It's so interesting, that some people, they beat themselves up and they go, oh, I'm having a cheat meal. I'm like, is it a cheat meal? Or if you do a marathon or a 10K swim or you hit a big weight session tomorrow, are you carb loading? Well, it completely depends on the context. It completely depends on what you're doing the next
That's
day.
really interesting because I'm training now and I'm starting to having to do on Sundays, I do like my long run and that progressively goes up like 3K each week. And in my head, so I won't eat a donut and I'm super strict on my diet at the moment, but once I finish my run or the day after, I'm always thinking to myself, surely I'm in some sort of deficit here because if I've just ran 13, 15K yesterday, I need this. Do you know what I mean? So would you say when you're training, you know, people always say, okay, carb load before the marathon. That's what they say. So the day before, just kind of eat what you want, whatever it is. But even throughout your training, is this important as well?
For sure. And I think
because I'm worried about losing the weight I already have.
No, I love you asked that because you touched upon a few different things there. Firstly, it's understanding like nutrigenomics, so how your nutrition interacts with your own genetics. Completely different. If we all sat here now and had the same bowl of porridge oats, we'd assimilate it completely differently. One of the things that you can do, so you as humans, we use two different energy sources, use fats or carbs, and you're sometimes genetically predisposed to burn one or the other. Great example is if I gave us a huge bowl of porridge right now, how would you both feel? Would you want to curl up and go into a food coma and sleep, or would you just feel pumped and full of muscle glycogen and ready to go? Which one would you be, do you think?
Porridge.
If I was eating porridge right now?
Yeah, or carbs. We had a massive pizza. We had a massive bowl of pasta.
If I had a pizza, I'd be slumped.
I feel like shit from pizza.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might be too different. It might be the gluten, so that's probably a bad example, but it might be this idea of having loads and loads.
Sorry, if it was porridge, then I'd be ready to go.
Oh, okay, it might be that then.
So if it's a pizza, I just feel like in my head, if I'm chowing down a Domino's,
right,
I'm trying to take an hour out because I need to recalibrate the mind.
It might be that's a whole of it with gluten.
That's a different problem.
There's a mental aspect to it because when you have something like porridge, you think, you know, it's the start of a day kind of meal. You set yourself up and you're thinking, right, I've had porridge, I'm ready to go, because you think that way, right? Yeah. That's what you would associate with
porridge,
getting yourself started.
Energy.
You would. And this gets really interesting as well, because basically we're genetically predisposed. Some people run better on fats, some people run better on carbs. So that's why I asked that first question there, because it's interesting. If you go, oh no, I just want to go to sleep, I'd feel horrible, I feel sluggish. It's like, you might run better on fats.
What's the best way to test that out?
You can do tests at Liverpool John Moores University. They found that I was so carb adapted. So they were like, Ross, James Morton's brilliant. He said, like, this is an analogy, Ross. He goes, you're so carb adapted. Is that good or bad? He goes, it's neither. You just need to understand that you need carbs every hour on the hour, that 120 Gs of carbs every hour on the hour. If you miss it, your blood sugar, you'll be dribbling, you'll be in a hole, you'll hit the wall, it'll be disgusting.
Wow.
Your body will go, we've got nothing. We're so carb adapted and you're not giving us carbs. He says it's like trying to do the Le Mans 24-hour race on NOS on a car. You know, like, and it's good if you can keep putting in carbs. Yeah. But what you want is a big diesel engine. So like, Ross, you need to become more fat adapted, where your body runs on fats. Now, one thing that's really interesting on that is all of us, doesn't matter how lean you are, we have a huge supply of fat on our body, endogenous fat already stored on the body. And I had to encourage my body to actually use endogenous fat. And one of the ways to do that, and this will be great for you to implement it in your marathon training, is to do lots of not lots, but make sure that you put in fasted runs. Fasted runs where you wake up, you might have a black coffee, but nothing with carbs or calories in. And you just basically go zone 2 aerobic. So again, speaking in complete sentences, and go for as long as possible. And what's going to happen is your body's there going to be like, oh, Chip, what's going on? Oh, Cal, you're running. Why are we running? You've not even had your carbs. There's no M&Ms. Yeah. There's no, like, what's going on? Yeah. And so it encourages the body to use endogenous fat. You become more fat adapted. Now, then going over to the marathon, what will be interesting is your body will be there on the start line going, we're good. If we miss an aid station or we don't want to eat because we're feeling a bit full, we can use fat already stored on our body. But if we do have carbs, that's good as well. We can do both. Right. And I needed to encourage my body to do that.
Little backup system almost.
Exactly. And the best athletes are those who understand like both. When you look at the Tour de France guys, oh my God, their fat burning capacity, even as lean as they are, they can just go for miles and they're so fat adapted. But when you start going up a hill and you need an injection of pace, bang, carbs, and it's glycolytic, it's anaerobic, and they take off.